All right, welcome back to the Stan Simpson Show. We're talking about how to hold college presidents accountable in this shameless defection from sports conferences such as the Big East. We're here with Amore, Walter Harrison, Scott Gray. All right, Susan Hurst, brand new president, right, has done, so far everyone seems to be pleased with her job, has to be very careful here now on what she says about her loyalty to the Big East and what she's doing behind the scenes to possibly move the ACC. How do you navigate that? Because her credibility is on the line if she ends up being too much on the positive for staying with the Big East when behind the scenes they're looking to go to the ACC.
Well, I think she's pretty much walked that line in that she said, she said on Monday, for instance, well, as long as we're in the Big East, we have to work to try to strengthen it. So I think that's the proper attitude.
Hold your nose in the string, right?
Well, you got to make the best of the situation that you're in, but I don't think it's any. And in fairness to UConn, these other schools have left the conference, and now they're in a conference that that's not what they bargained for. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. They've invested a lot of money to play big-time football, and their idea was to play Syracuse and Miami and Boston College, brands that mean something in Connecticut, games that could be sold. Taking nothing away from other schools in the Big East or the ones that might be coming in, they don't have the same marquee appeal here in Connecticut that a Syracuse or Boston College has. So that's been kind of pulled out from UConn. And so, in that case, it's not so much UConn's loyalty to the Big East that I would question, but it's, the situation that maybe UConn was too loyal to the Big East and didn't get out when some of the other schools were.
And they bring a lot to the table, right? UConn basketball, women and men. I mean, truth be told, football has struggled. They went to the BCS last year, but there's a broad spectrum of things that UConn brings to the table to any conference.
Well, everybody focuses on football. Football drives the bus, okay? And then the next level is the basketball programs. And that's what everybody's focusing on. But I think the thing that really makes UConn attractive is the commitment right down the line in the athletic department. You have the #1 soccer team in the country. You have a baseball team that just made the Super Regionals. Terrific elevation by Jim Penders of the baseball program out there. You have a field hockey team that is in contention for a national title. Your track teams and cross-country teams have won Big East and New England championships this year. Every program has elevated itself, and each one demonstrates the depth of the commitment of the university to its athletic department. I think it's those other programs that really make UConn such an attractive get. Obviously, the success of football and basketball speak for itself.
But you're still there to educate students, and UConn is doing a pretty good job of raising its profile as an academic institution. President Harrison, they're raising up in the numbers there as far as the ranking, and so it's a pretty compelling package.
Yes, I think that's very well known. Both what Scott said and the rapid improvement of their academic reputation. But I want to come back to two things. First, that I think in Susan Herbst they have a first-rate president. She has rapidly become highly respected among other presidents.
Why? What does she bring to the table?
Well, she's both honest and direct with other people, and I think that's she's not afraid to make tough decisions, and I think people are understanding that. She's very articulate, presents well. I think, to your point about being careful about what she says, I think you'll find that she does that. And so I believe that UConn's in very good hands there. But I also want to point out that all of this, Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, said a couple days ago that all of this is really happening because, paradoxically, college sports have never been more popular. More and more people are watching them on television. Television is creating greater revenues. Those revenues are going into conference contracts. And that's really at the heart of what's causing all this to happen. So there's a kind of paradox. We're talking about, here are the problems, this is shameful. And on the other hand, more and more people seem to love college sports.
So how would you stop the bleeding? As a college president, a guy who's chairman of a very powerful competition committee with the NCAA, they said to you, Walt Harrison, what would you do to add some semblance of integrity to these conferences and the defections? What things would you put in place to stop this?
Well,
moving on.
I mean, I always answer this in a too technical way, but I just want to say this just for the sake of saying it. The NCAA as an institution, as an association, can't do very much. There is a Supreme Court ruling in 1984, NCAA versus the Regents of the University of Oklahoma, that the Supreme Court of the United States said that television contracts are not the business of the NCAA. They're the business of conferences and institutions. So there's very little technically that the NCAA can do. I think there's a lot it could do to try to pull college presidents together and govern themselves a little. You said who's going to hold college presidents accountable earlier. I think as a college president, I feel accountable to everybody. I feel constantly being called on the carpet for why did you do this, why did you do that. I think the way to try to solve some of this is to get college presidents to understand that there's a lot more at stake here than just what's good for their institution. And I think the NCAA could do that.
In about a minute, money talks. Do you put in a heftier penalty? Right now, I think it's $5 million for the two schools, or $5 million apiece for the
$5 million.
$5 million.
Okay, do you make it, if you raise it to $20 million, any money high enough in this environment where it would serve as a disincentive to do this?
Well, they want to put make the penalty 6 years of television revenue if you leave the conference.
What do you mean? That you lose it?
You lose 6 years. 6 years of your television revenue is tied up to the conference that you're leaving.
So meaning you would lose. So if you got that money and you left, they would take that money back because you're getting money at the end of the year. So if you leave now, you're saying you'd lose that money. You'd have to get the money back.
They would take your television revenue for the next 6 years.
But if I'm going to a new conference, why do I care? In 30 seconds. If I'm going to the ACC.
Well, you see, the bottom line is you don't care. The bottom line is you don't care. I think the answer to your question is, when you ask, is there any amount of money that's going to stop this?
Answer is no.
Yeah, I think the answer is no.
Amore?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't possibly fine or penalize an institution the amount of money that it would take to be greater than the money that they would get by moving. $5 million, correct me if I'm wrong, but to me that's couch cushion money with what we're talking about. So that's certainly not going to do it, and I would guess $15 million, $20 million, $25 million, it's still not going to be as much as they would make by making the move, which is why they're making the move in the first place. So you can't do it that way. You just, as we said 2 weeks ago, the conferences have to make themselves attractive enough to hold the teams that they have.
When you're talking billions, a few million.
15 seconds. Changing gears real quick. Baseball, Red Sox. They fired the manager, Terry Francona. Three of the most noted baseball minds here in Connecticut, folks, truth be told. Who should be the next manager of the Boston Red Sox? 15 seconds. Scott Gray.
No, there really is no answer at this point.
Give me a name. You always have a name.
Okay, I think right now the favorite is probably Trey Hillman, the bench coach at Los Angeles, because he has managerial experience.
All right. President Harrison, the next commissioner of baseball, folks, right here, possibly.
Tony La Russa.
Oh, okay. All right.
It should be Bobby Valentine, but it won't be.
All right.
It should be.
And how about Willie Randolph, the ex-Met? We'll throw that ex-Met in there just for it. All right, folks, we'll come back with more of the Stan Simpson Show. We'll talk to a breast cancer survivor and get her thoughts on some troubling trends in Connecticut. Remember, you can catch our show 24/7 online, ctnow.com/Stan. Don't go away.